Belarus is one of those European countries that many people have heard about, yet surprisingly few know much about. For some, it is a calm country with clean cities and a relaxed pace of life. For others, it is a place surrounded by stereotypes and conflicting opinions. The first impression of Belarus often comes as a surprise. Many expect to see gray streets and outdated infrastructure, but the reality is quite different, especially if you begin exploring the country through Minsk. The capital leaves the impression of a spacious, tidy, and well-organized city. Wide avenues, numerous green spaces, modern neighborhoods, and remarkable cleanliness immediately stand out. Even first-time visitors often comment on the order and care visible throughout the urban environment. There is little of the chaos that is common in many large cities around the world. Life moves at a calm and measured pace. For some people, this atmosphere is a major advantage. For others, it may feel a little too quiet. But one thing is certain: Belarus is almost always different from what people imagine before they visit. Minsk is the largest city in Belarus and serves as the country's political, economic, and cultural center. After being heavily destroyed during World War II, the city was largely rebuilt from the ground up. As a result, modern Minsk looks very different from many of Europe's older capitals. Wide avenues, spacious squares, and large areas of modern development define the city's appearance. Minsk feels organized, clean, and comfortable to live in. One of the first things visitors notice is its cleanliness. Many tourists describe Minsk as one of the cleanest cities in Europe. But Minsk is more than just an administrative center. The city is home to major universities, cultural institutions, theaters, museums, and many of the country's largest companies. At the same time, the pace of life remains relatively calm. Even during rush hour, Minsk rarely feels like an overcrowded megacity. This combination of modernity and tranquility is one of the defining characteristics of the Belarusian capital.
Belarusians often give the impression of being reserved people. They do not always start conversations quickly and rarely show strong emotions to strangers. But behind this outward reserve, there is usually kindness and a willingness to help. Many foreigners note that Belarusians may seem distant during a first meeting, yet become much more open once a relationship has been established. Family, friendships, and personal trust play an important role in everyday life. People generally value calmness, hard work, and respectful treatment of others. At the same time, many residents prefer to avoid unnecessary conflicts and tend to resolve issues in a quiet and practical way. That is one of the reasons why the atmosphere in Belarus often feels more relaxed and measured compared to many other countries in the region.
Belarus is often called the land of forests and lakes. A large part of the country is covered by forests, and it is home to numerous national parks and nature reserves. One of the most famous natural landmarks is Belovezhska Pushka, one of the largest remaining ancient forests in Europe. The country's nature does not impress with towering mountains or exotic landscapes. Its beauty is quieter and more natural. Lakes, rivers, open fields, and endless forests create a unique atmosphere of peace and solitude. For many residents, this close connection to nature is an important part of their quality of life. Even near major cities, it is possible to reach a forest or a lakeshore within a short time, making nature a regular part of everyday life. Belarus has its own unique economic model, which differs noticeably from that of many Western countries. State-owned enterprises continue to play a significant role in the economy, alongside industry, agriculture, and manufacturing. Belarusian products are known far beyond the country's borders. Tractors, heavy trucks, agricultural machinery, food products, and various industrial goods are exported to many parts of the world. In recent decades, the information technology sector has also developed rapidly. Belarusian programmers and IT specialists have earned a strong reputation in the international market. At the same time, the country's economy faces a number of challenges. Global economic changes, sanctions, and shifts in international markets have all affected business development and household incomes. As a result, economic conditions remain one of the most widely discussed topics within the country. Despite these challenges, Belarus continues to rely on its industrial base, skilled workforce, and strategic position in the region as important factors for future development.
One of the main questions for people interested in Belarus is the cost of living. Compared with many European countries, Belarus has long been considered a relatively affordable place to live. Even today, many goods and services remain less expensive than in much of Western Europe. However, prices have risen noticeably in recent years, and everyday expenses have become more significant for many residents. This is especially true for housing, utilities, transportation, and food. The cost of living varies considerably depending on the region. Minsk remains the most expensive city in the country. It is home to most of the higher-paying jobs, major companies, and career opportunities. At the same time, the capital also has the highest rental prices and some of the highest service costs. Life in smaller cities is generally more affordable, although average incomes tend to be lower as well. Interestingly, many foreigners highlight the convenience of daily life in Belarus. Shops, pharmacies, public transportation, and various services are usually within easy reach. In larger cities, infrastructure is well developed, and distances rarely become a major obstacle. Attitudes toward money in Belarusian society also tend to be practical. Most people pay close attention to their spending and avoid unnecessary expenses. Displays of luxury are much less common than in many other countries. For this reason, Belarus is often seen as a country that offers a calm, practical, and relatively balanced way of life. The education system in Belarus preserves many traditions that have been developed over decades. A strong emphasis is placed on fundamental knowledge, especially in mathematics, natural sciences, and technical disciplines. Belarusian schools and universities graduate large numbers of specialists each year in fields such as engineering, information technology, medicine, and scientific research. Many graduates go on to build successful careers both within the country and abroad. Higher education remains an important part of life for many young people. Belarus has numerous universities and specialized educational institutions, with the largest and most prominent located in Minsk. Healthcare in Belarus is primarily based on a public healthcare system. For most residents, medical services remain accessible, which many people consider one of the country's important advantages. Clinics, hospitals, and medical centers can be found throughout nearly every region of the country. Of course, like any healthcare system, it faces certain challenges. Patients may sometimes experience waiting times, shortages of particular specialists, or delays in accessing specific procedures. Nevertheless, many residents note that basic medical care remains available to the majority of the population. For this reason, the combination of accessible education and healthcare is often considered one of Belarus's key strengths. One of the characteristics of Belarus that foreigners often mention is the sense of order and safety. In many cities, people comfortably walk outside in the evening, use public transportation, and generally feel secure in their daily lives. The streets of major cities are usually clean and well-maintained. This is especially true of Minsk, which is frequently praised for its cleanliness and organization. For many visitors, the level of orderliness comes as a pleasant surprise. The quality of life in Belarus is not easy to assess in a single way. On one hand, the country offers a relatively calm pace of life, developed infrastructure, accessible education, and healthcare services. On the other hand, average incomes remain lower than in many countries of the European Union. As a result, perceptions of quality of life often depend on an individual's expectations and priorities. Some people see Belarus as a comfortable and peaceful place to live. Others may feel that it lacks higher earning potential or a wider range of career opportunities. However, almost everyone notices one common feature. Life here tends to move at a more measured, predictable, and steady pace. Belarus has a number of advantages that many people appreciate.
First and foremost, these are safety, order, and a calm way of life. Many residents value the country precisely because it lacks the constant rush and pressure that are common in many larger and more fast-paced societies. Another significant advantage is the well-developed infrastructure. Even in smaller cities, people can usually find schools, hospitals, shops, and the essential services needed for everyday life. Nature is also considered one of the country's strengths. Forests, lakes, and national parks provide excellent opportunities for recreation, outdoor activities, and travel within the country. At the same time, Belarus also faces certain challenges. One of the main drawbacks is the more limited economic opportunities compared with many wealthier European countries. As a result, many young professionals consider working abroad as a way to increase their income and gain new experience. Some people also view the relatively small labor market and the limited number of major international companies as disadvantages. For others, Belarus may feel too calm and predictable. This is especially true for those who are accustomed to the fast pace and constant activity of major global cities.
In the end, Belarus is a country with both strengths and weaknesses, just like any other nation. Whether it feels like the right place to live depends largely on a person's priorities, expectations, and lifestyle preferences. Belarus is one of those countries that cannot be fully understood through news reports, stereotypes, or short visits. To truly understand it, you need to experience everyday life, walk through its cities, talk to local people, and feel the rhythm of the country for yourself. At first glance, Belarus may seem too quiet and even somewhat overlooked compared to more famous European destinations. There are no massive global megacities, world-famous beach resorts, or internationally recognized tourist brands. Yet many people discover something here that they struggle to find elsewhere. Order, predictability, cleanliness, a sense of stability in everyday life. Belarus does not try to impress visitors with luxury or extravagance. Its greatest strength lies elsewhere. In its measured pace of life, respect for work, close connection to nature, and appreciation for order. Of course, the country faces its own economic and social challenges, but at the same time, it has preserved a distinct character that is difficult to confuse with any other nation in the region. For some, Belarus will simply be an interesting stop on the map of Europe. For others, it may become a place where they find a peaceful and comfortable way of life. That is why Belarus inspires such different opinions. But one thing remains constant. In reality, the country is almost always more complex, more interesting, and more surprising than it appears at first glance.